Hello?
You.
Hey man, how's it going?
Good, bud. Can you see me though?
No, I just see your picture. Um, if you want to try again. I think when you can choose an option of what you want to show as far as visibility goes, you can choose your picture or you can show your face. It's up to you.
Oh, I mean, I'd prefer to show my face, but we'll go
Yeah,
with this now, so we're not taking up too much time.
yeah, okay. That's up to you, man. Yeah, so I was looking at some of your videos today, and it was funny that you started mentioning like the construction of these buildings and how it kind of reminded you of Lego because I've been having a discussion for a little while now with a few different people, and we're trying to understand how this works. So I'd like to hear your opinions based on your experiences and what you've seen, and then I'll share a little bit of what I think, and I think that would be great for anybody that's tuning in. And we might have to repeat ourselves a few times depending on what happens, but I think it'd be really neat to have this discussion. So yeah, I'd like to hear what you think.
It's just when you see so many windows that are blocked out, it gets your attention after a while. So, because,
Do you mean like the mud flooded windows, like along the ground level?
no, like purposely blocked out with like actual infrastructure, like the actual material of the building, like the bricks match the regular structure of the building that are blocking.
Yes. Now,
So
do
it's
you think?
like it's
Do
like
you,
a feature of the actual construction.
okay, yeah,
And that to me is like what they're clearly intentionally blocking these windows out. You know what I mean?
right.
Not like at a later date blocking it out because they're doing some sort of renovation.
Okay. Does that remind you of how they were putting the stained glass windows in as well? That was kind of an afterthought. I don't know if you've read much about that in this area or this
Yeah,
realm.
that's an interesting because the windows were actually intended to amplify noise or sound, right? But now the way that they had to mask it up and parade they had to change the architecture, right? So they had to change the narrative, and that comes with stained glass windows, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, no, just as far as the okay, the like the rose. What's the exact like the rose windows? So that basically the eyepieces that is at the front of
Yeah,
every like church that you're seeing. And I found a good explanation about it. It was called basically comparing it to like a magnetron, and it's like a cavity, and the it's passing through that cavity, and that's actually creating some sort of reaction inside of the building as well. And
absolutely.
it's not just the roof or whatever or the ornamentation that is bringing the electricity, and there's something to do with those magnetrons. So I'm just trying to learn more about that myself. So
Well, I mean, it's kind of hard to deny the when you looking at vibration, you see how the sand takes the form under certain frequencies, and then you line it up with the windows,
right.
and then you apply like the sacred geometry, and you're like, well, there's clearly a level of understanding of these shapes and how it pertains to frequency and noise, because you don't just have repeated patterns like that unless you're understanding its source, right? So
Yeah, it's funny that you say that though about the frequency and the different patterns because you would think it would be the exact same pattern everywhere you go in the realm, but it's actually different. And I've seen some different information showing like the splicing of genetic, like DNA or material, and how it actually creates that. But then you're talking about cymatics, and you're seeing the sand and the sound, how it's creating the different shapes, just like how potentially star forts were created. Do you know what I mean? That
yeah,
land layout or the look. So I mean, there's definitely more to that, but I really want to understand what does it mean and what are the different frequencies and the different shapes produce and what's the point of it all? Like, is it
I would.
for healing? Is it just for power? Is it both? Do you know what I mean?
No, I do actually, and honestly, like, why can't it be all? Really?
Right. Well, it just I
Uh,
feel like there has to be a purpose. Like I feel like every building, and if they were all just for power or just for one thing, they would all look all the same, right? So and we have all these different buildings that we see repeated like a pattern. So there has to be a higher purpose to all of it, right?
oh man, yeah. There's clear intention with these constructions, like you were saying earlier, like how it's always by a body of water.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I don't know if you've seen all the videos I've been showing lately, but pretty much every town that I'm passing through, yeah, especially you see with the drone shots, it's always a body of water, like a river, like a fairly large one as well, passing through. The town I'm staying in right now is full of canals and old canals, and that fucks with the narrative as well. I know you really like looking into the canals and dams and everything because trying to understand how are they were creating these types of things in the time period just doesn't make sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they had to dirty the water. They had to make that's like they make the town sick by dirtying the water first. Not to
Right.
like get on to a different subject, but yeah, no, the water
Well,
is
we
a
can bounce around as much as you want. Well, the train will come back around anyway, so continue.
yeah. No, it's also obvious when you start looking at the community and you start to see like where these buildings are strategically placed, and then you see the bodies of water, and then I
Yeah.
almost wonder where these windows in their geometry might actually be the frequency that they're placing them on. Like they're
Do you mean a
like
specific location? There has
yeah,
to be a certain
like
sound
that
or frequency?
exactly. Like the vibration of the planet of that particular area creates that shape. Right?
Interesting,
That's
interesting.
why they're always so different. Have you noticed?
Right.
The windows
Yeah,
are
definitely. But I'm okay. That's something I wanted to discuss too, because this gets into the construction techniques. You mentioned it reminds you of Legos, and like as I've been going around looking at all these different things, and I'm trying to understand, I'm seeing a pattern emerge, and all these different buildings, like the way they look, the way they've been put together, it's almost like they come out of a kit. It's like we're in this like giant Lego world, so to speak, because you have these same buildings. It's the same routine. This is your library. This is your bank, this is your town hall. It's like it comes out of a playset. You know what I mean?
Wait, say that last part. I was reading her comment about the pipe organs made to heal.
Yeah, and remember that video I sent you about the geothermal? Remember we were discussing like
Oh,
a long time ago about how were they heating these places? Because it definitely wasn't with wood heat. You know what I mean?
geothermal is such low hanging fruit, and these guys, I mean, clearly they were very educated.
Yes.
You don't make big buildings like that to freeze to death.
No, exactly, exactly. Which is pretty
So
funny. But
yeah,
what I was saying before is, do you think that because like there's a pattern that's emerged from all these different buildings because it's like it comes out of a play set because you have your church, your school, your library, your what else? Your town hall, any of those things of that nature, they always have a certain pattern and a look to them, and it reminds me of like Legos, like we're living in like a big and like it's like they come from a mold, and they were. I definitely don't think that they were carved by hand. It just doesn't make sense for me, especially with the time period. Like I've been looking at like Canadian encyclopedias. I know I mentioned this to you the other day about the eight. Okay, a lot of churches that I'm looking at and other buildings. It says 1850s when this town was found and this one or that one. And, in 1850, also the encyclopedias are telling me that they were riding around in wagons, with their hemp or canvas tops and horses and the whole family riding through the countryside trying to make a life for themselves.
yeah,
Now,
the
if you could build permanent structures like this, why would you build log cabins beside them and continue to do so? That makes no sense, right? And the population of these places, it's like 2,000 or less, but that
where were
includes teenagers,
the food?
women,
Like
children.
yeah, where were they getting the food? Where were they getting the farming? Where are they getting the essential supplies to have such a demanding labor? I mean, like to feed somebody with such exhausting labor is another task that I mean, I don't I mean, these had to have been completely different people. Um,
Yeah,
just
like
all
I don't think we're the ones that built these, but to understand that, like, and see, there's like how movies like tell you the truth in plain sight a lot of times, and we have all these like myths, legends of giants and this and that. Well, who's to say that we weren't that size at one point in time, and because of resources or scarcity, maybe we had the technology to like shrink or expand or something, and we like created this world for us to go into and whatever. I know it sounds really silly, but like when you're trying to figure things out, you're going to go through all the different possible theories because a lot of this doesn't make sense. So we have to think about something else. Was it giants that built these? Why is there such huge doors? Why? How were they like? How were they able to get things to those heights and like all these different buildings we're looking at? Like if you and I were to think about how they were doing it, they didn't have cranes, they didn't have excavators. How were they digging
Yeah,
the foundations?
it's
Where were they getting all the stone and the brick? Like, you know what I mean?
right. Yeah, it's obvious when you apply the right questions, and unfortunately, we're not taught to question the narrative. So it really does take a bit of a community and a level of skepticism to open these doors for people, but they have to walk in.
Right, right.
So obviously, that just leaves us in our own little community. But I think as we get a little bit more educated, our arguments get a little bit clearer. Our questions start to make a little bit more people aware, and then as more people join the community, we can actually figure these things out. Because
Oh
I'm
yeah, the more heads you get on this subject, the more inputs and ideas that people are going to have, right?
yeah, oh, big time. Like her, she's coming out with some the organs are pretty good idea of as far
I
as like
think I think sound can be healing for sure, 100%. Like, and I've heard all sorts of things about geopolymers and these larger things, but these are brick buildings. I don't think they're all geopolymers, either, although I do think some of that is involved. But I
oh,
also think that
newer
there
buildings.
is it's a part of the cover up too.
Yeah, the newer buildings are geopolymer because I was looking at an 1823 building and it was all
Right.
like columns were all stone, all my cell phone died so I couldn't make a video on it. I got to go back and try to get this one cuz it's really quite interesting.
I
Just
almost want to go back to some of these places and get inside of them as well because with all the mandates and everything, I wasn't allowed to go to a lot of places. But
yeah,
I feel like
that
I want to revisit. But sorry, go ahead.
well, I just wanted to say, like the heavier stone, the heavier brickwork, all were done on the older building. It had the bigger door entrance,
Yes,
and then anything that was built after 1823 in Fitchburg, Mass. Now this is
right.
obviously different town
Is
to
this
town.
this is where you were recently, right? You were in
Yeah,
Pittsburgh.
yeah, my
Yeah.
area. That,
Okay,
that
cool. I really enjoyed seeing those videos. Thank you.
yeah, nah, man. I want to. Yeah, cold weather's been holding me back, so
No, I
I
feel I feel you. Yeah, for sure.
all the videos that I've been doing are still connected to the Titanic. It's more trying to figure out the free energy and just kind of throwing some ideas out there. But
I think we should scale it down and like make models or miniatures of things and try to understand how they work.
yeah, nah, that's legit. That's actually a dream of mine, man. It's just pooling the money together.
Anything's possible. Anything's possible. Let's start ordering magnets online.
Yeah, yeah. But I just want
I have a question though.
1920
Go ahead.
building. Those were all cement casting. But like the older ones, they were cutting right into the stone, man. How were they cutting into the stone when power tools
Right.
were less likely? You know what I mean? The
Oh,
early
of course.
like the pyramids for crying out loud. Like let's be real. We don't even have to talk about just Tartaria. I mean, Tartaria is the beautiful egg that nobody sees. It's the one that needs to be hatched
I
because
I
it's the
feel like
one.
it's more of a keyword. Like Tartaria is more of a keyword because they're talking about the one group of people in the one part of the world that potentially
Oh,
expanded their
Fall River,
empire. And pardon?
Massachusetts. I was dead. I did Fall Rivers, Massachusetts.
Haha.
Yeah, and then I went to Rhode Island. And I did
Small
Providence.
world.
That's funny.
That's hilarious.
Cool little town.
I
I
want to
like.
come to the States so bad, but I don't think they'll let me in for a while. We'll see.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
another story for another day.
Yeah, man. Well, yeah. What were you saying though? I just got a little distracted there because that's funny.
I don't know, but do you see the picture behind me?
Yeah, what's going on with that?
Okay, so you know the videos I was posting of Guelph? I still have some more to make or whatever. So I was looking into the history, and then I found this building. This is the interior of a library, and this was built in like 18 between 1850 and 1880, and then they tore it down in the last like 60, 70 years, something like that. But like, why would you tear down such a beautiful building? And it's actually called a Carnegie Library, and it's named after some philanthropist. And he built all kinds of libraries. And it's actually funny because now I saw that name. I went back and compared that to the other libraries, and there is a similar pattern to it because these libraries all have a domed kind of top to them as well. But then if you're looking, I don't know if I can track my hand across the screen. You see these there, and you look at the designs at the top of those. Like, why would you be creating that for a library? That really doesn't make sense to me at all. You know, you're just putting some books in there. Why do you want to make it look like ancient Rome or Greece, or like it doesn't make sense for a Canadian building? Like, does this look like something you'd see in Ontario? Like, no wonder they're trying to destroy it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. And then when you hear about those bombings that happened in World War II with like certain cities that were just,
Yes. Makes you wonder how much has already been lost. And like
uh,
when I talk to people in different towns as I'm traveling and I hear stories like, oh, there used to be this and that and now it's gone and it's like they've been doing this all over.
oh yeah,
And like I want to travel even more down the road and I'm thinking about the war that's happening right now. How many special buildings are going to get destroyed in the Ukraine or wherever, and because I know there's all kinds of really like I've already made some videos in the past about the Ukraine, and it's one place that I do want to visit because it seems really neat, and it would be a shame for more things to get destroyed there, right?
well, yeah, they definitely have an agenda to get rid of as much evidence as possible. So it's
Yeah,
unless we somehow get these people out of power, but you don't. Again, we don't know to what level they are in power. I mean, like, are they
right.
really?
We only know what we're told, right? I mean, you got
Yeah,
actors playing as presidents, so and I mean, the world's a stage right now, anyway. So I believe about half of what I see. So
the world's got a lot of people in a weird position, right? Because it seems like everybody's got an opinion now, and that I feel like is the main agenda is to try to get everybody to complain about something so that they can at least like figure out how angry they can get people.
right. It's
So
funny, all the people that wouldn't stand up for themselves or the people around them, but now suddenly they care about what's happening across, or like overseas or
oh
whatever.
my god, dude,
I,
right?
I have a hard time listening to it.
Oh my god, I know. I actually just read a post. I never go on Facebook, and he was like, "Yeah, COVID's gone. Like, all these mandates are gone. But does that mean that we shouldn't talk about, the war over there? No, we should absolutely give it all our attention." I'm like, dude, bro, wow. I'm like,
Like
okay,
suddenly we're gonna forget that the last 2 years didn't happen. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, I did. That's just the level of intellect that a lot of people want to apply these days, and it's like that's smart in your opinion. Okay, well, good luck. If you think that's intelligence to like jump from one tragedy to the next and think that you're actually changing the world and making it a better place,
Right.
kind of
Right. Can we circle back? I want to get back to the construction techniques. So I want to know what your opinion is on how they were actually like. Do you think it's a kit that came from somewhere,
oh
like a
yeah,
place? You,
it's
you think it's okay?
I do that actually. But again, like,
You don't think 3D printing is a possibility, seeing as the fact that these people potentially were technologically advanced? Like we have concrete 3D printers now that are able to create. Like, how are they able to create that symmetry and the perfection of all these different things? I know you guys are talking about sound and everything, but like, look at those columns. I don't think they created those columns with sound. I think that obviously it's something else, but there's a rhyme or reason to it, and as well, how they're using the iron as well. Like if you were to break those columns open, I guarantee you there's iron rods, and iron is magnetic, and whatever that plays a role in all of this, right?
I mean, casting, but those are pretty massive. And then it's like the
Yeah, how
level.
are they standing them up, or were they preformed? Like I have
Yeah,
so many questions.
I would think they're. I mean, look, to be real with you, the 3D printing. I do believe everything that we're seeing today has existed in one form or another in the past. So I
Absolutely,
rediscovering old technology and we're just recycling it all. So,
100%.
uh, but the evidence of 3D printed stuff could be totally erased. You know what I mean?
Right.
So the columns that you're talking about to be 3D printed, it's a great speculation because Yeah, casting and keeping that level of perfection is and to keep it with consistency is kind of impossible, you would think, right, with the tools that were described.
Right. Well,
So
that's
it's
what I'm wondering. Like, how are like, especially with like the moldings and stuff towards the roof, and like the different ornamentation that they have. Like, it's like way too perfect. I just don't see people doing it by hand.
yeah, I mean,
And if they're pre-mold or pre-forms, how the fuck were they carrying them up scaffold? Do you know what I mean?
it's so delicate looking too. I mean, this the level of detail is still, it's one of those things that are hard to wrap your mind around.
Like it's always the same thing. Every time I'm looking up construction photos, there's basically like nothing there. There's no like shots of them breaking ground or digging anything up or putting the first layer, the ground floor, anything. It's always pretty much the end of construction. It looks like maybe they've taken part of the roof off or done something to make it look like they've finished or completed some work, but it's always like a shitty scaffold, like a really shitty one, and then like doing some work at the end, or the whole project is complete. They just have it covered in scaffold and you can't really see too much. And like those are the only construction photos you had. If you had them, if you can take photos of that time period, why would that be the only photo that you would take? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I I'd be more proud of my work. I'd want to see more of it, for history's sake, especially these grand buildings like cathedrals, whatever. Like I've been seeing so many huge structures. Why don't I see any more construction photos? You know what I mean? If there is any.
Well, a photographer is usually passionate about his craft, right?
Yeah.
Just a construction worker is passionate about his craft. So I partnered up with this kid to build me frames, and I was trying to talk him into taking a certain kind of payment. He's like, "No, man, I only want cash. I don't mess with the computer. You know what I mean?" He's
Right.
like,
Right.
"Medium of choice is wood." He's like, "I'm a wood crafter. I don't mess with technology."
Okay. Old
Guys
school.
that are building these buildings, they don't care about the pictures. But the
Right.
photographer, being a passionate photographer, you would think that those photographs exist. Absolutely.
Right. Hey, someone just said definitely built by magicians. Yeah, magician cowboys. Apparently, they just went straight from their wagon to floating, concrete materials up the air.
Yeah. Yeah, the level of, yeah,
No,
craft.
my other joke is there's like women and children with tool belts all doing work on the job site, like as a whole family unit.
Yeah. I do believe something really bad happened in the 1800s. A certain kind of evil took over the world.
Right.
Uh, whether it was just the corporation, the United States turning into a corporation, and that was kind of gobbling up the world through some sort of centralized banking system, but we don't need to get into that.
Or like the inner Earth goblins came out when the after the liquefaction mud flood was over and took over what was left.
No, but hey, all I'm trying to get at is I do believe we had free electricity back in the early 1800s.
Absolutely. From the
All
ether. I mean, Nikola Tesla's been hinting at it for years, right? Or was
yeah,
while he was alive.
airs like they were obviously displaying some pretty incredible stuff, and then all this seems to have disappeared, right? So
I still think he was a gatekeeper as well. I think he was another Freemason, and they already knew everything about what was around, and they were just playing a role. Do you know what I mean?
yeah. You know what's a really good book to look into is Devil in the White City. That was actually about the Chicago Fair.
Okay, cool.
And when you I was listening to the audiobook. There was so many murders and death. It really did seem like the World Fair was put on to actually create some sort of satanic ritual to like bring in to us
Potentially. Well, you
evil.
got all that energy of all those people coming in,
Yeah,
so that would be interesting.
and even you saw that lady of the Chicago Fair book. She was showing
I've
Nicholas.
been following her. Yeah, recently she's been showing that book bit by bit. It's really interesting to see.
Yeah. So I think you could be onto something about like the 3D printing, or it could have been sound vibration to get them into the molds, and then they They
Or we're
had
just in a big Lego playset, dude. Like, I don't know why the hell would there be the exact same fucking buildings all around the world? That doesn't make
yeah.
sense.
Oh, and then all the train tracks and their level of transportation, like
And underground tunnels, plus the dams, the canals, the locks, all this stuff.
ah,
So that brings me to another thing I wanted to mention right quick. Sorry, but I don't think like if you look at like all these crazy bridges, Eiffel Tower, all this like steel and mechanized stuff, and it's like almost like a steampunk world that we were in before. And I feel like they just reverse engineered and then started teaching it like they knew what they were talking about. Like I don't think we were that great or that smart if we went from cowboys to that. I think it was just they discovered this stuff and pretended that they knew what it was, or they were the ones that created it. But really, they just reversed whatever, engineered whatever they found.
I mean, they had the orphan trains and all that kind of crazy stuff. So they had a very
But
young
why
pop.
were there orphans? Where were these orphans coming from? Were they just test tube babies? And if so, whose babies? And why were the places so empty? Where did all the people go? Wouldn't there have been some leftovers? Who are these children? And where did the controllers come from? You know that there's been cataclysms before where people had to go underground and there was cannibalism and all these different
Isn't that
things. Why do you
Ukraine,
think there's so many different bones found under the ground and so many underground places and tunnels all around the world? All these major cities, all these cities have all kinds of tunnels underneath.
New
So it's really
York?
interesting to think about. But you go ahead. Sorry, I'm talking too much.
Oh no, you good, bro. You make good. I feel you. Um, no, just to add to that though, over in Ukraine, there's stories of people going into the depths, the deeper parts of the subway systems.
Yes.
Uh,
Urban exploration, Sony. But yeah,
Yeah, so there's totally cities underneath these cities that only the locals know about. Like um they have that over in New York. There's like something in Brooklyn. You saw that post, I'm sure, right? Where they were talking about only the locals know about it, right?
yeah.
So
I still think they're hallways and tunnels connecting like like imagine it's just like one big mega structure because like there's like bricked up tunnels and stuff that you're seeing that's super old and it just doesn't make sense for them to be able to do that for that time period. Like did they not ever think people would start breaking this down and actually looking at the history and be like, hey, this doesn't fucking make sense at all. Like, hey, why are all like do they not think people would notice? Like I don't understand.
well, you've been awake for how long, right? I woke up, oh god, 2008. So about the housing crisis is when I started doing a lot of deep diving into some pretty
Cool.
wild stuff. So I think with the Tartarian being like a 3 year phenomenon, right? Didn't it just really start taking root about 3 years ago?
Yeah,
Wasn't
yeah.
it speculation? I don't know where it really came from. Somebody was saying it's like its movement started about 3 years ago, right?
Yeah, I noticed it somewhere around that timeline, maybe a little longer ago. But the people were looking at like old encyclopedias, and they noticed that there was this country, Tartaria, and suddenly it got stopped talking about it, dropped off the face of the maps, all
Yeah.
this different stuff, and that kind of that sparked it for people or some people.
But so this is my point that I'm trying to get at is like I was always aware of the pharmaceutical industries being all petroleum based, propaganda,
Yes,
Rockefeller, you name it. But now today it seems to be like on everybody's menu. Like everybody seems to be aware of it, right? So
right,
the conscious awareness or the conscious waking that's happening is I think a legitimate phenomenon because even me finding out about Tartaria, it wasn't through the internet, so it wasn't like a controlled algorithm that like
right, right,
put it in my ear. So it was pretty. It's very organic for me in the sense of like how I came into the community. So I wasn't like manipulated through some sort of algorithm. So I feel like the Tartarian thing brings up the kind of questions that are so necessary to reverse this kind of evil that's going on in the world, you know? Because there's a lot of great questions that I'd never heard before.
right.
And, and honestly, it's only really been achievable through this community and it's It's really
There's
been.
literally concrete evidence everywhere. Like we can
Yeah,
travel the world and look around us. It's not just something we're looking at on the internet or looking at pictures or talking about. Like I can go out into the world and I can see this stuff and I can see that it doesn't make sense.
that's
Like
the
I did a construction for a long time and I did site development and whatnot. And like the time that it takes to build a small apartment building is the same amount of time it would take for them to build one of these churches, like one of these bigger spaces. And if they, how, like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Do you know what I mean? There was
well,
no way that they were building it in such a small amount of time with the amount of people that they had.
yeah. Just from like an engineering point of view, and you apply it with just like a little bit of common sense. And this is just like regular information that any Joe Schmo can figure out, right? Because
Yeah,
obviously not like in a position of authority. But those are those gatekeepers you don't really want to listen to, anyways, because they have a lot of incentives not to tell you the truth. But
flat Earth. Yeah.
yeah, definitely flat Earth, right? She's,
Well, it definitely got caught some people's attention that might not have been necessarily looking into anything. But once you realize you've been lied to, you question everything. So
yeah,
when a new idea comes along, you're gonna want to look into it. I mean, I try not to focus on that because I mean, I don't need to prove it to other people. I'm gonna think what I think. I don't really know what shape the Earth is, and I'm not gonna claim I know, but I don't agree with what I've been told. Whatever the narrative is telling me to think, I'm gonna think the opposite. Whoever the news tells me to hate, I'm probably not going to. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Um, but that's kind of how I've always felt. So
yeah. When you led down, so I mean, I was talking to my mom the other day. I'm like, where have the experts ever steered you in the right direction?
right, right.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
It's funny what people will do for money, right?
That's the sad part, man.
What people will give up morally.
Mm. I don't know.
Look at the business.
Where do you think we are as far as the community goes? Do you think do you think it's kind of hitting a plateau? It's kind of like its popularity is kind of drifting, or do you think it's still moving up?
I think it's starting to pick up because I'm noticing more and more people creating content on the subject. I've seen different podcasts, and although I wish they would talk a little more about it, but unfortunately they don't. What I would love for the community to do, especially for my American friends, because I'm not there and I can't travel around there right now, is just seeing more like in the state that you're in or major cities you're in. Like there's so much to see and to look at, and if more and more people were making videos and taking photographs, going in person, potentially doing drone footage as well, it would give us all a better idea. Because I would love, like, I wish my whole TikTok following, like who I'm following, was just people in different parts of the world. And I've already started trying to do that. And like, I will pull tidbits here and there to show examples. And I love it, especially the people that do like tours and stuff, because it gives me a better picture of what's happening in other countries because I can't be there. But like for me personally, like traveling around, seeing these in person is great, and that's why I love your content so much because you're actually going to these places. Because people are just regurgitating the same shit over and over again. Like as much as I love the World's Fairs, I'm tired of hearing about it because we get the story. I get what happened. They were showing off some shit. They destroyed it. Doesn't make sense. We believe that it was already there and they took it over. Blah blah blah. Like I get the story, and that's what people keep talking about. Or every time they show a picture of the mud flood, it's always that same picture. I think it's like LA or one of those places where you can see like the foundations going down of an excavated area. Like I'm tired of seeing those pictures. I want to see more. I want to see what's in your neighborhood or your neighborhood. Yeah, so I really hope that more and more people start making content so that we can see more and make like the ultimate comparison of everything. Because once you see the full, like how they do those zeitgeist films where they like flash a bunch of different images and conspiracies and whatever. Well, I want to see something like that really shows all these different places and the comparisons of all these buildings to really show how similar they are in all these places, and try to show that that doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? And as you're searching these things out, you're going to see more and more clues and understand more of what's happening. And eventually, maybe we can figure out how to get these things working. Because I want to know how it was working. I want to know how these houses or the housing was creating that electricity. Like, okay, so I can take it from the ether and then it comes through the house. So how does that work? Does any appliance inside that home work because of, a wireless effect? Like I want to understand it. So I think eventually if we could scale it down, or maybe it has to be that size. Another discussion I was having with someone, does it have to be a large, like grandiose building, or can we scale it down to a smaller version to make it work? Like more questions.
That's a good point, though. Beating a dead horse and keeping that kind of like as your main argument isn't exactly going to change a lot of people's minds. If anything, it'll just make it go stale. Um,
Thank you, Truth or Warrior. I appreciate you checking it out. Sorry if I've been missing your comments as well. I'm sorry to interrupt you too, buddy. I just looks like she's peacing out. So
oh, you got it. You good? Um, I think.
you
I
still
think
there?
with. I think with my approach though, going into the good weather is gonna be like trying to get more in tune with like how these buildings are actually um, in with the landscape, because I feel like you were explaining, all the churches are in the same location, always by a body of water, similar
Yeah.
structures, and like the library is always by X, Y, and Z. So
Yes.
I'm kind of my new approach that I want to go at to these things. It's like a living organism. Each
Right.
city has its own personality, its own character, its own entity. Like it's a living, breathing organism, and I
Or
just
you could
want.
look at it like an organic, like computer chip or board or whatever, and each of those buildings represents a different part or a different component of that electrical device.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think we are electrical computers. So
100%.
same.
100%.
Yeah. Um. I don't know. What are your plans going into the good weather? I feel like that's when things are really going to start picking up.
Yeah, I got a lot of shots planned out for the drone, and I've been like doing a little more preemptive like research. It's just I have a bad habit of just going into cities like willy nilly, not really knowing where I'm going and kind of freestyling it, and I lose a lot
Same.
of time and fuel and shit doing that. So I'd like to just kind of have a better plan going into these larger cities that I'm going to be visiting in the future, and maybe I'd like to start diving more into the history. It's just TikTok is so limiting. Like at first, like a minute was not enough. 3 minutes is enough. They gave me 5 minutes is still not enough. Like I have to make like so many parts to get to my point, which makes me want to move to YouTube, and I'm gonna start doing that over time. But just like there's so much to share and not enough time.
I think you do great over on YouTube, so why not? Really?
Yeah, exactly. And the more branches for people to see, the more I can expand. And I really do enjoy having discussions. I'd like to get more people involved in that as well, because it's one thing to show what I'm finding, but it's another thing to be able to discuss it on a like open forum or whatever, and to have other people and their thoughts and opinions and stuff. So it like the more, like I said, the more we discuss it, the more we're gonna learn, and then it's good for other people listening in as well to get a better understanding, right?
Well, yeah, but it's also like, how do you keep people engaged, right? How is it that we can make a strong enough argument? Because there's tons of gatekeepers out there, and I can respect why they would be so stubborn to not accept the challenge narrative, because it's all
Right,
they know, their purpose. It's where they lay their identity in. When that identity's challenged, you can get a lot of negative reactions from that.
right. Yeah, like I feel like you already have to be fairly open, like to get to this point. Like I've already gone through so many different types of conspiracies and understanding it's like secrets and things that have been hidden and whatever. I feel like this is like intermediate to advanced like level. You've already had to like figured out a bunch of stuff for this to make sense, you know what I mean?
Oh, for
Because
sure.
if you're just to walk into this idea, you'd be like, yeah, that's fucking bullshit. You really have, but if we can find a way to articulate it in such a way that people are like, oh wow, okay, and then they start wanting to look into it themselves, or hey, I'm going to look around in my town, and oh, that doesn't make sense. But like I doubt as many people are going to be as necessarily as passionate about it as we are, but I think that over time we'll be able to build a bigger audience as more and more people move forward in understanding this subject, right?
It's yeah, it's like how can you turn the light bulb on? You know?
By showing videos and pictures and comparisons like, hey, this is what's here, but this is also here. And actually in this country, and oh, down here, oh, this island in the middle of nowhere, yeah, that has those buildings too. But yeah, cowboys and settlers were making these. Yeah, don't worry about it. Just,
Yeah,
whatever, go back to sleep. You're an idiot. Like, you know what I mean?
that is kind of the low hanging fruit, right? Just be like, these are all over the world. It's not even
Right?
just here. This is beyond a level of comprehension. There's
Well,
no
yeah, like
just like
like even hop on Google Earth, like look around. Like, I mean, it's not going to do you justice, but at least you get an idea. But sorry, you were going to say?
no. I was just gonna say like fucking it's insane to point out that and not get a reaction out of it. If you don't get a reaction out of somebody with just that simple truth, then you know you're wasting your time.
Yeah, the answer that I always get from non-believers is, "Oh, they were just really good at what they were doing. Oh, we can't afford to do that anymore." Really? But they could afford to do it while they were in fucking wagons and eating dirt. You know what I mean? Like,
I know it's like don't praise our monetary system if you think that that's a good argument. It's like we're the most advanced civilization in the world.
oh, of course, we're the smartest and the best. Look at us go. We're
Yeah.
doing so well for ourselves, right?
Oh my god. Yeah. Everybody's so fucking saturated with their yeah. Everybody's inundated with something. So
Well, eventually all the truth will come out, my friend. One way or another, the history books will have to change eventually. You know what I mean? They'll have to adjust their stance or their story.
hopefully sooner than later, because they seem to be doing a pretty good job at keeping people distracted. I will admit, though, I have been getting through to some people. I
That's
think
great. Yeah,
some
like
people are starting to wake up a little
have you
bit.
tried connecting with like friends and family or even strangers you meet on the streets or while you're making these videos? Like I try to make a point to like talk to people and like I remember I was in the Niagara Falls and remember that really big like old electrical building I did the drone shot of that I said looked like a palace almost. I remember the one day I was filming this like some foreign couple. I don't know where they were. They pulled up and I started talking to him about it. He's like, "Oh, I never thought about it that way. Thank you." And then like got in his car and drove off. But it was just like for that like moment, he was like, "Huh, that is kind of weird." You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Some people will have that aha moment, and if it's a good enough aha, they'll look into it and
Right, right.
hopefully join the party. But
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And but like I want to see more because I always feel like I'm missing out on something or like there's so many towns and so many places. Like it's really hard to think that they were all doing it at the same time. And like same with
um,
the okay, remember that I don't know if I showed you this video. There's this person making videos about this subject and he brought a really interesting point to light. It's how I've been talking about wording and like coding of what we're saying and whatnot. He said ruins, like they were ruined. So they were ruined purposefully. So that's like they use words in our faces, just like Freemasons, masonry, free buildings, that kind of thing.
yeah,
So so if you think about these places that are destroyed or ruined, it's like they did it on purpose. You know what I mean? To fit whatever narrative. And you think of like ancient Rome or Greece, maybe it's not ancient, or maybe it's all ancient. Maybe it's all the same was all built at the same point in time and we're just told all these different stories. Oh, this place that they destroyed or made look a certain way or they didn't uncover it as much or hey, they dug the mud out of this spot but they left the other spots alone. You know what I mean? It's hard to say.
I think what's really been their main ingredient is keeping everybody confused.
Oh,
Just an
absolutely.
you know because there's
Separated and confused.
revolutions going on. There's so many little like wars, not even just like bloodshed wars, but if they can keep everybody somewhat fighting at all times,
Fighting with themselves, their families,
yeah.
people around them,
And look at what we're
different.
everybody around everybody I know has got something that they're fighting that they have no they shouldn't be fighting. They should not be in this fight. Like the
Right.
Ukraine. Like, why do you have such a strong opinion about fucking Ukraine? It's so weird.
Because the news tells them to, and they're
Yeah,
being programmed to think that way
yeah.
subliminally.
It's like, congratulations, you're such a kind heart. Your your
Where
level of
was this passion for the last 2 years, buddy?
I don't know. We lost half
or
the military because they didn't want to take the fucking vaccine. Like,
right,
you
right,
the time to be going into a fucking into a war
yeah.
when you don't even have the manpower for it. But that's whatever. That just brings me to believe that this is all intentional.
Oh, for sure. Oh, for
Yeah.
sure. It was funny actually. That you mentioned like people flip-flopping and stuff because like I remember visiting with my father recently and like he was like, oh, you got to wear a mask, you can't come near me, blah blah blah, people are dying, you're gonna getting sick, blah blah. And then suddenly, oh, they're lifting the mandates in 2 weeks, and he's like sitting beside me without a mask anymore, walking around, going into the stores with me and whatever. I'm like, holy shit, dude, like you're suddenly not scared because the news told you not to be. Like, think about that. Like, I think it's kind of ridiculous the way people's minds work. So,
Yeah.
because science tells me to, I'm not going to worry anymore. Like, fuck off.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, man. Wait,
Yeah,
so who's like that though? Your
my
dad?
father.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. It's something about that generation though, because like even my dad was like, "Oh, I'll get the booster then." I'm like,
yeah, yeah,
God, bro,
yeah.
you feel like so passionate about it, but
Right,
he's not one of those dudes either. That's like, why didn't you do it? You know, he's not like, yeah, he's
right.
like, it's your choice. It's okay.
Oh yeah, like I mean, everybody can feel free to do as they please, right?
Yeah,
But
he
don't try to shit on don't shit on me for whatever choices I ended up making or didn't make. You know what I mean? It's not really anybody's business.
he definitely thought I was an idiot for being like, yo, I ain't fucking taking that shit. What the hell are you talking?
Right,
He's
right.
like, why are you going against the science? He's like, whatever, whatever. I'm like, fuck you, whatever, dude. This is like the shit I've ever heard in my life.
Right. Well, I mean, they skipped the Vax passport. Now they're going straight to social credit system. Like, did you see any of the videos I was posting? I found some more videos on TikTok as well. Like, them trying to push a social credit system and digital IDs. Like in Ontario, they want to do a digital ID system that they're going to be implementing like in the next year or so, and that with digital currency, like they just want full control over like mind, body, everything. Like, and you know where that's going to eventually lead. People are going to be like, oh, well, what if my phone or whatever dies or blah, blah, blah. It's going to go straight to the RFID chips, which like relates to, the mark of the beast kind of shit where you need the mark to be able to travel and buy and sell goods or whatever the fuck it's talking about. But, as far as like predictions and that kind of thing goes. So I think that's interesting stuff because I mean, people already have that technology to like get into work or to do certain things, and they have all those stores now where you can just walk in and walk out, and it gets credited to your bank or credit, your credit card or any of that stuff, right? So it's interesting times, and I don't want a part of it because then it's going to get to the point where it's like, hey, your credit score dropped like 10 points or is under a certain value. You're not allowed to use the internet today, or you can't leave the city or take this type of transportation, or you can't work here or go here, oh, like you jaywalk or you make a mistake, you swear in public, or a camera picks you up spitting or smoking a cigarette or something, and you get deducted points, or you're only allowed to buy certain types of food, or like the list goes on for the amount of control this is going to lead to. And people are going to fucking eat it up and be like, yes, please, I'll take that. Like, what the fuck? Like, it's very silly.
Yeah, it is kind of perplexing, right? It's like, what level of civilized society are we really arguing for? Because when I was walking along the streets of Fitchburg, man, I was looking at a lot of crackheads. It's a very
Yeah,
deprived, very poverty-stricken neighborhood. So when they set these types of systems up, I can
right.
almost guarantee you there's like only 20% of the population is going to be a part of this, the in good graces of this this system.
All the same people that voted for Justin Trudeau.
Yeah, yeah, they'll try their hardest to appeal to any sort of new laws that are done by their team, because that's what it is. It's a cult at the end of the day. I mean,
Right.
really, as much as
You want to hear something funny?
what?
So I got invited onto someone else's live today, and he's like in the UK or whatever. And I started making some jokes about like the Queen and like Britain and stuff. And he's like, "Dude, you better be careful, or the whatever they call police in the UK, or I forget the name he used, but he's like, they're gonna come at my door, or the Royal Guard." And like partway through the live, suddenly he like paused, and then his live ended, and he never came back on. And I thought that was kind of coincidental. I don't know if anything bad happened. I hope hopefully nothing, but like I haven't heard a word from him. It's been like an hour or two. Like I was doing a live like an hour before I got
Yeah.
on with you. And it's like we were making a lot of jokes and we were like going deep on conspiracy theories, and then suddenly his live gets disconnected and he doesn't come back on.
Uh,
I'm like, oh shit, what did I do?
yeah, you should check in with him.
Yeah, right. No, I was just making jokes about the Queen. I was like, she must have a clone that's stuck at like 80 years old, and like she just keeps jumping into the same body. That's how she still looks the same age. Or then I made the other joke. I asked him if he remembered the movie Weekend at Bernie's, and they just been like propping her up all these all these years.
I mean, if they're that sensitive, man, oh god.
Can you imagine? No,
Then,
obviously he's fine. I just thought that was like a funny coincidence or whatever.
nah,
Well, I
man,
should I should say obviously. Who knows these
yeah,
days?
yeah, it's a possibility for sure. I wouldn't write it off. I'd
If it
be
was
checking
Australia, I'd say
hard.
yeah, for sure, someone's at their door. But I don't know.
Hey, man, I got to admit, you do a pretty good job with the lives, though, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, getting into like interviewing people sounds like a natural progression.
I mean, I'd love to get more people going.
Yeah,
The more people interested in the subject, the better, man. Like one of the guys that I found early on in this journey was John Levi or whatever, and I'd love to
yeah,
talk to that guy. I mean, it would be a really slow conversation, like we'd get to the point eventually, because he
yeah.
talks really monotone and slow. But I think it would be a lot of fun to pick his mind and go back and forth, and anybody else really.
Yeah, it's oh, okay. I'm just trying to figure out these like things. Um, yeah, John Levi or John Levy. Yeah, he'd be a great one to have a conversation with. He's actually kind of like the OG.
Right.
Um,
Same with the flat Earth British guy.
yeah, yeah. No,
I haven't seen
those
any content from him for a long time though.
I think they're good people, man. You can just tell that they're like good people. They're not out
Well,
to
we're just
harm.
all trying to share our findings, you know what I mean? We're all doing it for different reasons, but all kind of towards the same. Like you're kind of attracted to certain things, like certain aspects of this topic, where I'm
Yeah.
looking at certain things as well, and we're all going to put all our information together and come to the best case like situation of what we think this is and how we got here. You know what I mean?
My philosophy is applied with the fractals because I think everything comes from the human body. Like the human body was the first thing that they had to figure out. Before that they couldn't build a building, right? Because they didn't know what you needed to facilitate the human body, right? So naturally that would mean you need a kitchen, a bathroom, you need a boiler, and the boiler is kind of like the heart. The kitchen is like your stomach. The bathroom is like your intestines. You know what I'm saying? So, and then like the copper piping is kind of like the veins or whatever. You get what I'm saying? So, and then
Yep.
you can apply that with the city, and then you can apply that with the country, and then you can apply that to the world. You know what I'm saying? So like every city has grocery stores, and then has public. You know what I'm saying? You get what I'm getting at, right? I don't need to
Yeah.
elaborate.
No, no. It's fun to hear your side, your take on things though too.
Yeah. The thought process that I'm going with is just how much of this narrative can we actually have control over without falling into
As
the
much as we look into, the deeper we dive, the more we're going to learn and rip apart the narrative. You know what I mean?
yeah. We're definitely doing a great job with that, man. I fucking love it, man. There's so
When,
many.
when are you going to get a drone?
I think that's more of a youth thing. As much as
Doesn't
I'd
have to
want,
be.
yeah. Right now, I can't really see a drone working for mine. I like going inside the buildings and looking at the and looking at the foundations and checking out the basements if
That's
possible.
cool.
Yeah,
I feel like I will be eventually because if the mandates are going to stay lifted and they're not going to throw another variant at us and lock us down again, which is very possible. We'll see what happens. But if we can stay away from that, I can probably get into some places that I'd like to.
yeah. It kind of
Um,
like Canada is way worse.
Unfortunately, yes.
It's tough. Has it
Yeah,
gotten
like
over there?
what?
Has it gotten
What's that,
any?
buddy? Has it gotten any better?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I kind of do what I want for the most part. I get shit on a little bit here and there, but like I've had to take some public transit lately, and no one gave me a hard time for not wearing a mask. Most places I go to don't give me a hard time, grocery store, that sort of thing. So
All right. That's
I just kind of do whatever. As long as I'm not hurting people, I give distance to everyone. You know what I mean? I get stared at a lot, but I don't care. So
yeah. And you don't have to.
no one really has the balls to say anything usually. So I'm waiting for someone to say something, but they usually don't. So.
I do.
But I think a lot of people are traumatized from this whole experience, unfortunately. So there's going to be a lot of healing for people that's going to be necessary after all this.
Yeah, definitely.
It's gonna be hard for people to let go, but you're gonna have to move on with your life eventually. But it doesn't mean that the people that incited all of this don't go unpunished. You know what I mean? Somebody's gonna get a hurting real bad. As what's that comedian's name again? Russell Peters. Have
I
you
don't know.
heard that? Oh, he's like a Indian comedian. He's kind of funny, but anyways, he's Canadian. He's from Toronto, but that's just one of his jokes about like his Indian dad talking about how he's going to get the belt or get punished or whatever. So,
Mm.
but yeah,
Well, hey, bro,
no,
I'm gonna peace out. It's getting a little late. I'm gonna go to bed, but we should
oh
do
yeah,
this.
you gonna turn into a pumpkin or what?
Yeah, I've been going to bed at like 9 o'clock
Oh,
for
look
like.
at you, you're getting your beauty sleep, eh?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I should probably go to bed earlier too.
9 o'clock is a little like really early for me. So
And what
10.
time are you getting up at? Like 5 a.m.?
Huh?
What time are you getting up in the morning?
Yeah, I was getting up at like 4 or 5. Yeah.
Are you working out as soon as you get up or what?
Actually, yeah, I do like maybe 70 push-ups every morning.
Nice, that's dope.
Yeah,
That's good.
I actually did 85 though this morning.
Look at you. There you go.
Broke a
Getting jacked for the summertime, eh? Oh wait, you
record.
got a girlfriend now, don't you?
Yeah, you gotta. Yeah, she's a great workout machine.
Oh yeah.
You gotta that
Fuck. Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
I should sit right beside you.
yeah. No, no, not with me right now.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
I'd
too
still
funny.
say that.
What?
I'd still say
Yeah. I didn't hear anything.
that. Yeah, yeah. But
No,
yeah,
that's good,
man,
man.
love it. We should definitely do some more lives though.
Oh, 100%. And you know what's cool? I can rip the audio off this and I can use it with your permission for later stuff.
Oh yeah, I would be honored. definitely.
Yeah, cool, cool. Obviously, I'd like you to come on a frequent basis, and we can touch base on other topics. We can discuss different places. We can discuss like I know you have enough followers now that you can do live, so like if you want to put a little like picture in the background, we can discuss things that you've been looking at or vice versa. Like I'm down for whatever.
Yeah, let's get a
Um,
schedule going. Definitely make it like a little more routine so people can, you know, figure out our schedule and tune in too. You
oh,
know,
for sure, for sure. And like I like the idea of calling it Tartaria Talks. I mean, if you have a better name or something, by all means, I'm not really
man,
too attached.
you create the format. You good.
Right on, right on. Yeah,
I mean,
and I can have other guests. I can have up to two people, so I could have you, another person, and myself all having a discussion too.
that'd be
So
dope.
that's something to consider too. Yeah,
Yeah, and then get it on to YouTube, man. I like the direction. I'll say that. I
yeah,
definitely
for sure.
want to be a part of it. I know
And
that.
and, and you know what's really neat? I'm pretty sure down the road I can like align a YouTube live with the drone footage. So like I could do a live, like I can connect the drone live through YouTube. So like, say I show up somewhere and we're doing a live, and then I can switch over to the drone and you'd be able to like see what I'm seeing in real time. I think that'd be really cool to set up eventually too.
Yeah.
It's just like the drone, you get to see it from like a bird's eye view, and it's like I feel like I'm flying when I'm watching these videos, and it's like for me personally because I was actually there seeing it and flying it and doing all this. It's like it's a different experience for me, but I get to share a little bit too. Like I don't know, and there's still so much more footage like I have to share with everybody, and I look forward to more of what you have to post and other people, and like the more people, like I said, like more and more people are doing this. It's bringing more inspiration and ideas out, and like it's cool to see what other people are bringing to the table. Like,
Yeah, man,
uh,
one
yeah,
too. You're definitely hustling. I see you doing a lot of lives. Like you do it, and that's great, man. Are you kidding me? Like, I think the more you're doing, the better. So
for sure, for sure. I'd like to do more of actually in the cities, but like I said, it's been cold. And like, there's times when I was like driving around and stuff, and I wasn't really getting out of the vehicle very much.
same here.
I'd like to do more of that, getting out and like actually going around these cities. Like when I go to Toronto, I'll definitely shoot a few lives of like the university. Remember, I sent you that video of the work that they're going to be doing. So the ground will actually be opened up, and I'll probably see some foundational work, which will be interesting.
Yeah. No, I love it, man. And I really think there's going to be an explosive growth, even in with like the community come this summertime or springtime or whenever good weather comes around. Because I
Well,
know
every
me
time. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
was it felt really good.
Yeah, like yeah, it's feeling phenomenal for the future. And the thing is, every time I do a live, well, not every time, but almost every time, the people have been listening long enough to get an idea of what we're talking about, or whoever I'm with, we're talking about, and then I usually gain a couple followers because it's like, hey, they probably would have never seen the content otherwise, but they stumbled across the live and they're interested, or it caught their attention, or they like look at my material that I posted already or other people's, and it'll get more people interested in that subject. And eventually people are going to catch on. They're going to hear it like it's a keyword and be like, oh well, I want to see more of that. And and like maybe that'll encourage them to make content themselves. You know what I mean? Like for the longest time I was just watching content, just like sitting by like, just kind of absorbing what was shown to me. But then it's like I started looking myself, and then it really caught my attention. I'm like, holy fuck, these motherfuckers are right. Like these are everywhere, and you start looking and looking, and it's like, well, I'm in Canada. I don't see anybody else doing this. I don't. I like traveling. Like, Why don't I start visiting all these different places? And then there's people like you that are doing the same thing. You're like traveling to all these different spots that are within your vicinity, whether it's cities or states, and I think that's amazing. And like if we can just get more people doing that, like I think that would be awesome, man.
Yeah,
Like the Tartarian, what's that?
new content is like it's so vital. You can't keep showing the fairs like you were saying. You got to
Oh
get
no, I'm tired of
about
it.
their own towns. You guys, you get because it's all obtainable. It's within reach. It's not like something you have to go to Egypt for to like
No,
feel
like we have ancient
good about.
buildings, like structures and pyramids and shit everywhere. Like,
Yeah.
like the star forts. Like, yeah, did you see some of the star forts that I found? Like they were in varying sizes, but like I still think that's pretty cool. Like
Oh,
there's like three of them all within like an hour of each other.
yeah. There's a world of wonder all around us. You just
There's
got to
so
get.
much to discover. So much to discover.
It's just yeah, so much to discover, and but you really just got to lift the veil. And I think if you and I we can do like some good podcasts, I'll get some bullet points on the Devil in the White City, maybe taking a different approach on the popular subjects like the fairs, or
Nikola
like
Tesla. We got to
yeah,
talk about that.
or we could talk about we could speculate about a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? As far as where what is the ether? How does the ether work? Or how could the technology have worked with the
That's
ether?
right.
You know, I think if you and I, we could set something up to do this like maybe once or twice a week.
I
I'll
think
leave.
once a week would be good for sure. I can make time for that,
I,
100%.
I could do something even more than that. I mean, I don't. I
Yeah.
wouldn't want to
Okay.
do it a lot at the beginning. I think.
Right, right.
I
And
think
then we could
over.
do a whole subject on like melted buildings. Like as you know, like there's been more than the mud flood. There's other shit that's happened, like a big
Oh,
plasma event, whatever else. Like, so there's a lot of lot of topics to cover, really.
there's sunken islands that you could talk about.
This is it.
Uh, that's something happened in like the 1700s. That was in between in the Black Ocean or the Black Sea or whatever it's called. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about.
Easter Island is a good example of the mud flood because when they uncovered that, I don't know in the last however many years, but they uncovered the fact that these are actually full blown like statues that are like 15, 20 feet tall and they have
Yeah,
feet and they're not just like, do you know what I mean? But they're up to here.
yeah, and they got drawn like writing on the back of them.
Oh,
I don't know.
really? That's cool.
Yeah, look up images on the for the back of the Easter
Okay.
Easter statues.
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
I
I
gotta
mean, yeah,
get
exactly. Like I wouldn't have thought of that. So like we're all just like this is what I've been saying for a while now. As
yeah.
far as like conspiracy theories go, we're all like puzzle pieces. And the more of these pieces that we have, the more of us that get together, the bigger the picture we're gonna see and understand. You know what I mean? So
You know the walls in Peru, right? How they have those
like
knobs.
the terraces?
Well, I'm talking about like how they all have like that indentation that sticks on the real old megalithic blocks. They all have that little nipple that
Yeah,
like
it
sticks.
almost looks like the yeah, like from a casting or something.
Yeah, yeah. It's really just something that's so easily overlooked, but when you
Is it
apply,
like the is it from the pour hole from when they're pouring the geopolymers in and when they pulled the cast off, that's
yeah,
what was left over?
that makes sense. I could definitely wrap my mind around that. But yeah,
Like I
no,
don't know for sure, man. Like we're just guessing here, but like the fact that we're thinking about it, I think is really important too, right? Like I can't like I don't think historians are necessarily right. They're just fucking guessing, just like scientists are
yeah.
theorizing. Like gravity is a theory. They haven't proved anything. It just goes on.
Well, let's look at it. Let's look at it this way. Are you still there?
Oh yeah, I just leaned back.
Oh, all right. Well, let's look at it from a medical industry point of view, right? So if you go in, and this is like the way things are structured today, and you wanna get something taken care of for a skin rash, right? Well, you're gonna go to a dermatologist that only knows how to like take care of it topically, right?
Yeah,
But the real root core problem might be like a digestive issue. So then you go in, you go to the doctor that's like a specialist with the stomach, right? Well, he's not a nutritionist, so he's gonna look at your stomach like he's like it's fine. He's gonna be like,
yeah.
nah, it's okay with your body. There's nothing wrong. So like my point that I'm trying to get at is these archaeologists
Yeah.
aren't scientists. They don't know how to look at the world and how the landscapes change. They're
They
not
only
look
know how to look at it through the lens of the textbooks that they've been taught through. You know what I
exactly.
mean?
So they're just trying to diagnose the knee pain instead of looking at what the diet is, that's causing the inflammation.
Yeah, it's just Western medicine, you know. Let's deal with the symptoms and instead of looking at the real problem.
Yeah.
Like, hey, it's not the shitty food that you're eating or the shitty water or the air quality. It's actually this problem. Here's a bunch of pills. There's a bunch of side effects, but it's better than feeling the way that you already feel. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's ridiculous.
Nah. So an archaeologist is only really going to tell you X, Y, and Z based off of their limited scope, right? Because they have just
Exactly.
one, and they have to go through the gatekeepers again too. You know what I mean? They all have people that they can't piss off, or they'll lose their job.
I mean, we had plant medicine up until like 150 years ago.
Yeah.
Like naturopathy, like the only reason all this shit, like fucking what's the shit in our water again? I don't know why I'm
Or
having a yeah, thank you. I gapped out there. Fluoride in the water, all the issues from pesticides, the whole like pharmaceutical industry, it's all based off petroleum. So, hey, we can't make as much money off plants. Let's fucking take some fucking shit from the earth and let's make all this fake stuff that's bad for environment, for the people consuming it. But hey, we're gonna make a lot of money. The thing
yeah,
is, the reason that they're in the position is because we keep giving them our own money instead of making our own medicine, producing our own food, taking care of our own livestock, doing our own thing. Like the best way to say fuck you to the man is to be self-sufficient. You know what I mean? That's their scariest thing. That's why they're buying up all the farmland and they're going to make it impossible for people to buy land or homes and you're going to have nothing and you're going to be happy about it, right? According to
yeah.
the WEF Foundation.
Charles Schwab's.
Like how do people not see that that's a problem? Like how do you not look at what's like him talking, he made a book, it's literally called The Great Reset, and he's like, it talks about getting into parliamentary cabinets around the world. Like that's kind of scary. Like, hey, we're going to infiltrate governments all around the world and tell them our way of thinking and how things should be. Like, does not people not see that as a problem, or that's they're okay with that?
Well, there hasn't been a representative body of governance in a long time, and now you're gonna hear a lot of different concepts coming out of me about the kingdom of heaven, and philosophically speaking, of course, not in a religious context, but
Man, whatever you believe, that's fine. You don't have to censor yourself in that. I'm not here, but I'm not TikTok. I'm not Facebook. I'm not Mark Zuckerberg. I'm not here to censor your beliefs. You feel free to believe and
oh
tell what
no,
you want. I'm not no judgment. Like I believe in a creator and a higher power. I'm not here to say I know exactly what's going to happen or what it is, but I know there's more to life than like us evolving from monkeys. You know what I mean?
yeah. Let's save that for another podcast. I
Oh
really
yeah,
do.
fuck yeah, fuck yeah.
Yeah, nah, you good,
I
bro.
could,
I
I could
actually really
talk for
enjoyed
hours,
this.
man.
Let's definitely let's communicate tomorrow. Set up for another one. I want to
Yeah,
get
that'd be
into it.
great.
So
Maybe you'll show your face next time.
yeah, I got to figure that out. That was because I was nodding a lot, and I think that would have helped out the conversation because I was agreeing with you a lot, and I think that would have been better if you saw the my agreeing with you instead of just like thinking I was instead of
No,
the
I
awkward.
just I just I just missed your cute smile. That's all.
Yeah, I got I get you got a lot of people on there. They want to know what I look
Yeah,
like.
they want to see your attractive face. What can I say?
Exactly.
All the New Hampshire ladies or Maine or wherever you're from, I forget, are going to want to see what's happening, right? They'll be like, damn, maybe I should go there.
Yeah,
Make your girlfriend jealous, right?
you got to keep them on their toes a little
That's
bit,
right.
a little bit. All
I'm
right.
just playing, man.
So
I'm just playing, but I can tell you want to go. So thank you very much. I appreciate you coming on
yeah,
and talking to me and listening to my shit. Obviously, I have a lot to say, and not enough time a day to go on about all this. But like I said, the more people, the more heads getting on this subject, the better, man.
yeah.
But
I
once
think
again, like look at
think
this
you're
background. Like how fucked
bro.
up is that? Like do you
What
see the statue in the back there? Like that's the
what
inside of a library, dude. It's called
Yeah.
the Carnegie Library of Guelph. If you're, they destroyed it, but if you're curious, you can look it up. I'll probably make a video of it. And the rest, like I have more Guelph footage to show. I did a live at the university when I was there, and there were some really cool buildings and like more stuff that wasn't like coated over or plastered or cemented, like I discovered that they were doing. Because like a lot of these buildings that we think are stone actually is brick underneath, and they put like a fake facade. I know I've
Uh,
sent you what
where you so Panama what's his name?
Pax Romana.
Yeah, Pax Romano. He's got the star for a picture for
Yeah,
profile.
yeah, we chat a lot too. I'd love to get him on here too because I know he's got a lot to say, and I think he's a
He
bit older than us too.
he's quite a special one, actually. I like him. I would love to hear him talk. So I would love to get him on. Us three. If you
I
can
don't
make,
know if I don't know if he's camera shy or not. I don't really see much content from him in a while.
he's protective. I think he's smart enough to know. Um, he probably has a good reason to stay anonymous for whether it's his job or family or.
Yeah, I don't care anymore. When you've lost everything, nothing else matters really. Like,
Oh, I'm sure he
um,
has that mentality too. It's just
no,
everybody.
I totally understand. Like, everyone knows I'm fucked up and I like talking about fucked up shit. So whether you accept what I believe or not, that's your choice at the end of the day. And I don't mean you, I just mean in general.
Ah,
And,
to me, it's art, and if you can't accept my art, then
right.
don't buy it. Fuck, I don't care. You know what I mean?
I'd say like two out of three people that I talk to about the subject are like, holy fuck. And then there's that one person that just can't wrap their head around or is like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
Then there's the whole pictures or it didn't happen crowd, hence why we make this type of content, right? It's like, well, yeah, if you're not starting to see some similarities, like, okay, eventually I'm going to print out pictures of all the buildings, like churches with the
yeah,
similar names, styles, and it's like I said, it's like a play set. We have our United Methodist set,
yeah.
our Ukrainian whatever, and like each set has a different look to it, and like basically I want to have like a big like board like behind me. I have like three walls of plain wall that I can set up, and I'm gonna like show all the comparisons of all the different designs because what I'm seeing is there's places where they've removed parts of the building to make it look like something else or they've added to it. So the more of these buildings that I'm seeing what should be there and when it isn't, or what is there and what's been added. So it makes me be able to see more a better picture.
Yeah, those are always fun to try to read into. I
Well,
feel
I
it.
want to make one of those like crazy string lines, like connecting the dots, like you see when they make fun of conspiracy theorists. That's my today's joke,
Yeah. Hey, I
but
will
it would
leave on.
actually make sense.
I do want to just leave on this note though that like, look, I mean, we're building buildings every year. You know what I'm saying? So when I see a building and it says it's built in 1923, I'm going to say, all right, it was built in 1923 until I figure out that it wasn't. You know what
Right,
I'm saying?
right.
So,
Yeah,
um,
the cornerstone was built in 1923, and then they stuck it in, but the building wasn't. You know what I mean?
yeah, oh yeah, nah, there's definitely a lot of trickery in overlaying, and that's why I want to know more about these bricks, right?
Oh
The
yeah.
brick, the stone churches. That's interesting. But
It's too
I, but
bad you couldn't tell by looking at the brick based on like the style or like the density or color or something that would tell you specifically when or where it was produced.
that would, yeah,
You know how there's like different soils in the world that would produce different types of crops or something that you would know like, hey, this is this certain type of brick and this is where it was created and how and whatever and this is the timeline. Like I've heard that carbon dating isn't necessarily accurate, so it'd be interesting if you could find a different method to really test. Like if we could take samples off of these buildings and like really figure out, I think that'd be really neat if we could test like the concrete or something. You know what I
oh,
mean? Hey, this is 100 years old, or this is 200 years, or no, this is actually we can't even test this. It's like 2,000 years old. You know what I mean? I think that'd be really cool.
you can't
Oh,
carbon.
you want to go? Someone was just reminding me that you want. I keep getting the conversation going again. I apologize. I know you want to go, and maybe there'll be someone else that wants to go live with me. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
Oh,
No, once again, thank you.
All right,
And you
bro.
have yourself a good night, and I'll discuss more with you tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Let's definitely get this in routine.
All right.
All right,
We'll make some future plans tomorrow. Sounds good, buddy.
all right, definitely. All right,
All
peace.
right. You have yourself a good night. Thank you
Yeah,
once again.
see ya.
See ya. Did you want to come on there? I don't know your name, but Truth or Warrior. I have pictures of old buildings being dug up and bricks added them in the 50s, local ones. That's cool. Like, I'd love to see more content. Oh, you're not feeling well? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. If anybody else wants to come live or continue the discussion, I'm all for that. If you have any questions in the comments, I'm down for that as well. Um, if you guys want to discuss more, I had fun having that conversation with my buddy. We talk here and there on the sidelines about, I check out his content and he checks out mine, and we're bouncing our own theories around back and forth. But it's fun to hear what other people have to say. Yeah, no, like I'd love to talk to you when you have a chance. I've checked out some of your content here and there, and I'm always happy to see more people talking about this subject and whatnot. It's fun to see more people into it. Because the more people, like I've been saying all along, the more people we have doing this, the more we're going to learn, right? Because what your perspective of what you see when you're looking at this and the ideas that come to your mind is not necessarily going to be the same as mine, but we put our ideas together and come up with a better of idea about these, right? And we can move on and understand more and more, and eventually, because if it was a world of free energy and the buildings are related to it, then there's got to be a way to get them working in such a way that we don't have to be enslaved by our utilities anymore. Because basically that's where we're at now in life. We're enslaved by our jobs, or trying to eat and live in a world that's been given to us, and electricity that's probably being produced for free. Because I know 100% here, like in Ontario, there's hydroelectricity everywhere, and the water doesn't stop running. So why do I have to pay for it? You know what I mean? And I mean, maintenance can't be that crazy to keep those things going. And we give so much money in taxes and everything. Why are we paying for utilities?